What's up, rotters? Welcome back to Maynard, the podcast that takes a deep dive into the best and worst horror films of the 80s and 90s. I'm Stevie, your VHS veteran. Hope you're all doing horrendously. So many of you got in touch after last week's episode to say how much you enjoyed it and to share your memories of first watching Ghoulies after, being taken in by that strangely alluring VHS cover. I love hearing from you, and I read everything, so thank you. It's funny doing a podcast because once you click upload on that episode, you have no real idea who or how many people it reaches and, what they thought. And so it's always lovely to know that what I've launched out has landed safely and it's not just spinning out in the ether. So thank you once again for getting in touch. I really appreciate it. This week, Mike Munzer and Becky Dark join Louise Blaine and I to close out our Children of the Corn franchise retrospective over on Patreon. We did it slightly out of order, but we finished up with 2009's TV remake of the original source material. It was really fucking bad. I don't and didn't know what to say about it because I feel like that franchise has caused me irreversible brain trauma. It doesn't seem to work the same anymore. Miramax need to apply health warnings to their franchise abominations because I'll never be the same. So yeah, if you want to hear how the damage was caused and hear that entire decline, all episodes of the retrospective are available this week. Just go to patreon.com/Stevie's Brainrot to join the harvest. This week, Emily Head returns for her third appearance on Brainrot, originally with her father Anthony in Season 1, talking about Tibor Takak's The Gate, and then in Season 2 for the super well-known Nightmare Weekend. Yeah. This season, we're taking a look at 1982's The Incubus. So, for some reason, in the early 80s, aliens committing sexual assault and/or insemination was a popular trend, with movies like Galaxy of Terror, Inseminoid, Extro, and unfortunately several more. The genre was in questionable territory when it came to taste, and although The Incubus certainly leans more toward the actual narrative and mystery, and it does steer clear of any of the attacks happening on screen, it still lands in this odd micro-genre that dominated the sci-fi horror B-movies of the early 80s. This movie, it centers around Dr. Sam Cordell, played by John Cassavetes, who self-appoints himself chief detective of a string of brutal rapes and murders in his small town. It's uncovered that this town is no stranger to events such as these, as history seems to be repeating itself, and the legend of the Incubus could be the culprit behind the town's repeated trauma. So I'm sure you've already clocked, but I just want to give a very clear trigger warning for rape and sexual assault to anyone who wishes to watch the movie before listening to the episode. Well, I know my synopsis may have sounded like I know what the hell was going on in this film, but that couldn't be further from the truth. It is a crazy one, so I'm gonna need Emily to help me with this. Emily Head back again.
I know. Hi.
You're obsessed with horror.
I really am. Who knew?
You love it. You love 80s horror. You just can't get enough. And I think I've proven to you that they are top class. What a time.
What a time period. So many things I've learned from the 3 films you've made me watch. Mainly that I won't watch them in my free time. I will only watch them if you've asked me to.
But that's kind of... It sounds weird, but that's kind of true with me as well. So, because, not that I don't enjoy them on my own, but a lot of these terrible B-movies, especially from the early 80s, during the VHS boom, you have to... There's no point watching them if you can't talk about them.
Yes, absolutely.
Otherwise you're like, cool, I've seen The Incubus, or Incubus, it's changed its name, and that's all there is to it. I have the information that's in that film, no one else does, and I can't exchange anything about it. So that's quite a frustrating feeling when I do that, when I just watch something and I'm like, oh, okay, that exists and I've seen it. that's the end of it. That's the end of the journey.
That's it.
And it's not the way it should be. It really not.
No, you're quite right.
Before we talk about it, how are you? What's been going on?
I'm good, thank you. I've been in Whitstable filming.
Oh,
which is a lovely part of the world.
Filming and cockle shucking? No, that's not it, is it? Isn't
I don't know. I guess
you get
shuck
oysters.
Yeah, that's a big thing in Whitstable.
That's it. That's what I meant. I think I mixed a couple of things up.
But there are cockles too. That exists as well. But I wasn't doing that. I was filming. I was there filming series 2 of Whitstable Pearl, a show on Acorn TV.
Oh, what's that
starring
about?
Kerry Godliman and Howard Charles. It is Kerry's character, Pearl, hence Whitstable Pearl.
Very good.
She is like a private detective person living in Whitstable.
Right.
And then her friend Mike is a police officer working in Whitstable. And that was series 1. So there's lots of like murders. I say like murders. There are murders. There are just murders in it.
Is it set today? Is it modern?
Yes. Yeah.
We do. Do you know what I love? We do sort of small town British crime thriller better than they are so comforting and also exciting.
I know, isn't that weird that it's comforting?
Yeah. It really is, even though it's like
Murder by the Sea.
Murder.
So whimsical.
Yes, it is. But it sounds like it's that sort of show, and I just love those.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's out in November. 2 episodes a week.
Acorn, did you say?
Spoiling everyone. Yes, Acorn TV, the streaming platform.
Yes. I know it. It's on the long list. But luckily it begins with A, so you often see that first.
Absolutely. Very clever, yeah.
Yes. That's you're going to get a lot of them now. Like Aaron TV, because that's double A. To make sure they're the first.
Entertainment, yeah.
Moving on to something... Well, actually, no. This is still a murder mystery, actually. That segue works. We're going to be talking
nice. Yeah, it was
about...
like you planned it.
Yeah, it was very good. 1982's Incubus, or sometimes titled The Incubus. Emily, what did you think? This is the first time watch for both of us, by the way, so we both went into this cold. I hadn't seen it before.
That's
again, this is one of those ones that I own, and I'm like, I can tell I'm going to want to talk about that.
So you owned it before you watched it, right?
So about 80% of my collection. Yeah,
that's amazing.
I'm a collector, not really a watcher.
Brilliant. Just why? Right. It's so bonkers, and creepy in ways that I don't think it means to be creepy, and then really confusing in other ways. There's a lot to unpack.
I know.
What did you think?
Do you know what? As an actual film, narratively and structurally, I don't think it was dreadful or incompetent. Like it resembled a film, which is
the highest praise you can give to any film.
Yes, it resembled a film, and that is more than I was expecting. Okay. Some of the mystery elements worked for me,
sure,
as you say, but I don't think it could quite tell if it wanted to be sort of Hammer horror gothic with skulls and candles and books, or if it wanted to be a sort of a detective cop drama. And anyway, the person who takes over the investigation is a bloody surgeon, not even a cop. So...
That's why I kept writing, like, why is the surgeon here again?
I know, it's like Murder, She Wrote. Jessica Fletcher, she is not she is a writer. She writes fiction, and yet she's allowed on every crime scene. Everyone knows her.
All of them.
It's like J.K. Rowling rocking up to a murder and them going, "Oh, J.K.'s here. Go on, go straight through.
Here.
Go on, tamper with the evidence if you want." Yeah, sure, great. And it's kind of like that. The police let this guy just go. You go discover.
Yep.
You know, he doesn't need warrants or anything. He convinces people, we're going to take over your house and have a look for a bit.
Yeah.
And so that was confusing. I mean, we'll get on to the ending because I had to text you saying, I don't know. And I did rewind a couple of moments. So what's happened is I deliberately haven't Googled it so that you can
Right.
try and explain it to me at the end when we
Perfect.
get there. And I did sit and close my eyes for a second afterwards and just piece together what I could, and it hurt.
Yeah.
I had searing pain in my brain. I've sort of got the main gist of it, but I have a
Okay.
lot of questions.
There are a lot of questions, and I'm not sure that we'll answer all of them.
There was a string of horror films in sort of 1980 to 82 that were focused on alien insemination. It's very
I
strange.
didn't
It was just
know
this it was this pocket in time where that was the cool thing.
Right.
Because there was a film called Extro and Galaxy of Terror, Inseminoid, and it was people
Wow.
just had a taste for intergalactic sort of probing and implanting. I suppose like Alien, which was in at the very late 70s,
Right.
was kind of that because it was implanting down the throat via the facehugger, and I think then people started to rip it off. So this was a film that I wasn't expecting. I suppose Incubus, incubating. It
Yeah.
sounds a little bit pregnanty. But,
Well, when you Google what an incubus is, which I
yes,
did, it is literally that. It's a demon that has sexual intercourse with women. So
okay,
yeah.
right.
So I
That's
mean,
that. Well, it's...
I guess it lives up to its name.
Yes, it really does. And just on, to really set the tone, I love that the first line
Yes.
in this entire of this film is "you bitch."
And then I think the second line is something
It's
like,
bitch.
yeah, that's it. That's exactly. Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to be in for like a feminist horror film. The first line was "you bitch," and literally the first line is "you bitch" because she won't kiss him.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
the only reason.
That's the worst thing about it as well. It's because he didn't get his way with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, something awful happens to her. Now, it starts as it means to go on, because it's very confusing at the beginning, and there's a lot
Yes.
of information, and we're introduced to a lot of people, aren't we?
Very quickly, yes, a lot of people. There's so the two on the. Where are they as well? By the way, because it's like
beach
a quarry, but it's not. It's lots of rocks. Anyway, they're there. She runs off and hides in a shed, and then she gets attacked from the back, and then he goes to look for her, and he's hit in the head with a nail on a plank.
Right, but you've said that as if that's shown in one nice, seamless scene. But of course, it's actually intercut with like a sweaty boy in bed and an old lady, and then medieval torture, and you're like, oh, okay. There's then you get boobs and bush in the shower, and
on that note, by the way,
yes.
so there's this old gentleman, the surgeon, Sam, who is like looking stressed and worried and everything, and then he comes home and then he looks in the mirror and this young, very naked woman steps out of the shower, a really hot shower, by the way, like so much steam.
Scalding. Her skin should be sliding off the bone.
Totally.
Tender.
I thought that's where we were going. It was not. It was just to see
be
her
fair,
naked.
also she left the door open.
She did, 100%. And it's a bit odd. And then...
Well, it's his daughter, right?
Well, yes. Exactly. Which we don't know that yet.
No,
we don't know that until she says dad, like 4 scenes later. And at that point, I was making notes so that I could go back over them before meeting with you. And I just wrote, she's his daughter?
Yeah.
Because he stared at her fully naked for...
That's the problem, isn't it? He didn't do the sort of the hand over the eyes, like, oh, shit, oh.
No.
You left the door open again, Jenny.
Yeah. I'm home. Like,
yeah. None of that.
So weird.
As the film develops, their relationship does, and it's a very adult relationship.
Very much so. Yes,
the stuff
very much
they
so.
sort of talk about. But yeah, there's a lot to take in, and I thought I was going to hate the film because of this. I thought it was going to all be like this, a sort of almost student art house film where you've got to piece it together yourself. It's like Shakespeare, where you're meant to keep up, but you're introduced to 14 characters in 2 pages. And then those characters are just talking about other characters that you haven't met yet. And you're like, what do you want me to do? And they're all stupid names as well. But obviously, Sam, as you say, he's a surgeon or a doctor. And so he gets called in. And then we find out that this girl, which is the girl from the beach, has been raped. And the other guy has been killed.
Yes.
And immediately I thought at this point, well, let's see how delicately this 1982 B movie handles the trauma of rape, shall we?
What? Dry intercourse is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
First of all, that's a technical
horrific
term. Yes. Whenever he describes unwanted or non-consensual sex, he describes it in the most horrific ways.
Oh, horrendous. Just going on and on about an incredible amount of semen. What?
Yes. But going like, I'm talking like loads. Cool, we got it.
It's so dark, and I don't think it means to be in that respect.
Yeah, it's weird. I think maybe retrospectively, it's more shocking to us now. It's probably just so. Oh yeah, this is an insemination film.
Yeah.
So they'll be talking about alien cum and and ripped up insides, and it's awful. It's just really horrible.
It is really bad
at how casual everything is said.
So casual.
Now, explain to me this bit in the museum. Okay.
Oh, no idea. First of all, she locks everyone in there. She says the museum's closing and locks the door while everyone's still in there. Then, and I've noticed this as well, like, there are an awful lot of jump cuts in this film that don't really make that much sense. But the shots that the director really likes are way too long. So we follow this museum curator up the stairs for ages. And I'm pretty sure you can hear 2 sets of footprints, which is delightful.
The cameraman and her.
Yeah. And it's a museum with loads of hooded mannequins. We never actually really find out what the museum is. We kind of do, but also we absolutely don't.
It's very odd.
And then everyone has left, and then she thinks
they must have had to unlock the door themselves to get out.
and then lock it behind them. Because she's like, who's in here? The museum's closed. And then the best jump cut of the whole film, in my perspective, was we're looking down like it's also a library, I guess, because we're looking down these bookcases.
It's like a Madame Tussauds library museum dungeon.
All of those things in this tiny little town.
Yes, right. Such a tourist trap.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the town where they don't like strangers. So she's walking down the bookcases,
shelf cases. Yeah.
She leaves frame, and I timed it.
Rewind this.
2.5 seconds later, literally, she's pushed back through the bookcase, hair down, shirt ripped, skirt off. Now she's just wearing a ripped slip, scratches all over her.
Yes.
It was the quickest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. So this is what my brain did.
Yeah.
This is where I went. So she goes round, then bang, this woman comes flying through the books. My brain went, so this is the medieval woman who's travelled through time through the bookshelf. And so suddenly there's some sort of black hole, or that bookshelf clearly has an entrance to a different time. Because
interesting.
I was like, there's no way it's the woman who just walked around with the bun and a black skirt, because this woman has long flowing ginger perm and has no black skirt. This must be a time travel moment. And then it was when it carried on and the other woman didn't return. It was like, and she wasn't going, where did you come from? You look like an ancient person. But when that didn't happen, I thought, is this the same woman? And I rewound, and it turns out it was.
It absolutely was.
So that was an interesting time for my brain.
Fair enough. I thought that I'd accidentally skipped ahead.
Right. And then they don't help by panning over the dead body and the blood, and it turns out to be a mannequin.
Yeah, there was so we are led to believe that she also is being attacked. Just a lot of stuff on her face. And then we get a really long shot of the mannequin's face. Like, the scene ends on the mannequin's face. Like, we need to see his perspective of it. It's very strange.
Right. Yes. I did write at this point, though, that I'm into it. I'm into the mystery element of it. Now that I know it's not a time travel thing, it's just a real thing. The mystery element is quite, there's the baffled police scratching their head.
Yeah.
There's the nosy and very emotional reporter.
Yes, she's there. So is the husband of the deceased. Why is he there? It's a crime scene.
That, yes.
Also, the doctor is there.
Of course.
Dr. Sam.
He's like first. He's first on the scene every time.
Oh, better call him. He's then prescribing pills to the husband. It was at that point that I wrote down, do they not have any other doctors?
Very
small
town.
Very small town. And then, the journalist turns up. She's upset and shouty. And then the policeman's like, get her out of here, Sam. Why? That's your job. You get her to leave.
And also, it's kind of your fault because I kind of feel like your people must have let her through because I'd like to think that maybe it was a bit cordoned off outside.
You'd hope. Well, there was a policeman on the door that then let them out.
Right.
So he absolutely let her in.
Yeah. And I think Sam calls Jenny and goes, hey, I won't be home, got another rape to deal with. And I was like, oh, he could have just said something's come up.
His 18-year-old daughter.
Yes, just I'm sorry, something's happened. I'm sure that sort of information you're not really allowed to say yet as well.
Oh, definitely not. But he's not a police officer, so he hasn't had
of
training.
Course.
He's allowed to say anything.
You see, I keep forgetting that, Emily, because it's not very clear.
It's so unclear. He's also just in his civvies as well, like.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about him and Jenny then, because he goes back, and this is where he kind of opens up to the 18-year-old girl, and explains this strange backstory about.
See, this is one of the really confusing subplots that I just. Yeah.
Does it suggest he's a murderer?
Yes, 100% that's what it suggests.
I wasn't going crazy. Okay.
No, absolutely. The whole way, because he's also playing the role very creepily.
He's staring?
At everyone all of the time.
Nowadays.
Absolutely. So I, at that point, was like, oh, it's him.
Right.
He's attacking everyone.
Yeah.
But he also has this really weird thing with his daughter. There was one point where they have a prolonged kiss on the lips.
Yeah.
Too much.
I didn't like it.
Me neither. He explains to his daughter that I didn't know that his wife, her mother died. Or
yes,
left,
her mother died.
did something. Right, okay, so her mother died.
And so then he got
he got with an 18-year-old.
Yes,
19-year-old?
Yeah, 18. I think he said 18.
And then he said something like, oh, she was never comfortable with me. Don't date her then.
Red flag also.
Absolutely. And then
she was having affairs.
Yes, that's it. She was having affairs.
He caught her with a guy.
Yeah, and then he followed her, and then he couldn't forgive himself about something. But then we have a flashback to a woman on the road covered in blood.
And him looking over, really happy that she's dying.
Yeah, right?
But then, fine. And I was like, oh, okay,
sure.
Right, cool. If that's it, that's the story we're going with.
That's where we're going, sure.
Then later on, that gets blown out of the water because it's a completely different story. It was a witch hunter that knocked her over. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
I have no idea. I genuinely, it was at that point that I thought, at the end of the film, retrospectively, I thought that maybe that was where they were going with it, and then they decided to change their mind halfway through the film.
Let's go gothic.
I don't.
And so we've got the red sperm, which was in the curator. They're waiting for the report. So he takes the reporter for a drink, says, "You are my dead ex," and pulls a move on her. It's all very sinister with him at this point.
It's all very sinister. Also, when he's doing the autopsy,
yes,
on the museum curator, just the massive syringe of red liquid that just gets plopped in this jar, and then he just throws his bloodied gloves across the room. At that point, I was like, he's deliberately contaminating the
Right.
evidence. But then I think I gave them too much credit,
Like it's
actually,
his red sperm.
I don't know.
Right. Oh, it's bizarre. But then you've also got Tim, the sweaty young man, who...
Yeah. Who in the first scene was called Jim.
Yes! I wrote down Jim!
Right?
And then
I
it was
rewound
Tim.
it so many times. Yeah, it was Jim for at least one line. And then it was
at the beginning,
Tim.
definitely.
Yeah.
The old lady, Agatha, she calls him Jim for sure.
100%. So when the daughter is dating this guy Tim, I had no idea who they were talking
Didn't
about.
put two and two together, no.
Absolutely not.
So his dreams are back, and the grandmother Agatha seems to know more than she's letting on, and they're making her very sort of mysterious.
Yes, his dreams are of a woman tied up in like a cult-like setting with men in hoods.
Yeah.
And he keeps having this dream. Everyone looks like they're hiding something.
Yes, which in that Cluedo way, I guess is fine.
Sure.
And make everyone seem suspicious, but you need to you need to cut off all the loose ends by the end so that we know, actually, did he murder someone? Is she an evil witch? And I still don't know at the end who is bad.
No, me neither.
Everyone?
I guess.
What's the whole situation? There's a dog that gets pitchforked. Is it a farmer? And a guy gets a shovel through the neck and then he shoots his own foot off in a seriously unfortunate string of events.
Yeah. Then we're at a farmhouse.
Yeah.
For no reason. And there are two women there.
That's right. The wheelchair
one in a
user
wheelchair,
and the other girl.
one in a shower.
The shower.
So naked, obvs.
Yes.
And the dad goes out to the barn. The dog has been stabbed by a pitchfork, and the dad gets stabbed by a spade.
Through the neck. It's quite good, though, that bit.
Really good, actually.
I enjoyed that.
I was very impressed by that. That was very good.
And I didn't think that's where we were going anymore with this film because I was so fucking confused. And I was like, okay, so it's just like this weird cover-up mystery one. But then then this scene was like, oh, okay, cool.
You also never really see any of the violence. You see, which is good. This isn't me saying, oh, God, I really wish there was more of it. But, you just tend to see a lot of blood on people stuff. But the foot being blown up was very impressive. Also, we've skipped over a little bit. Not that it was an important plot point, but when he does the autopsy on the curator,
yes,
he says her windpipe was torn out. It literally wasn't. We saw her neck when he took the sheet off her in the museum. Yeah. She has a shocked face, frozen in terror, which he then has to close her eyes, and then he takes her pulse. Just to let your audience know, really how good of a doctor this man is.
I want to see his doctorate.
100%, and why everyone looks at him. So we're in the farm, and then the dad gets murdered, and I don't know why. I guess all the men get murdered, right?
Yeah, they're just in the way. They're an inconvenience, I suppose. They're an obstacle between the incubus and the women. And so it's actually, I like this shot of the girl under the door where you can see her body. And the wheelchair girl obviously can't get to the floor to look under, but then the blood comes out and then the door just blows off the hinges. It's quite good.
Yeah. That was one of the another one of the director's favorite shots. You could tell the camera was really underneath arty. The wheelchair. So you got the feet, and then that shot went on for a while, and then also the close up of her nether regions as the glass being burst open,
smashes. Yes,
dude, so unnecessary, but all right.
He knows his audience.
But yes, the shot under the door was good.
Good.
I mean, she's naked. It doesn't need to be, but
covered in blood.
Artistically, you're right. It was a.
I think there's an elephant in the room. What am I watching next? When this.
Just what am I watching?
It was the film. Is it a music video? Is it performance art? Is it a gig? Is it a screen? Is it on stage? What is happening?
I thought it was a cinema.
Yes, and that's what I thought.
Wasn't, because then there's
and then it was both,
and they all look really unimpressed to be there.
The people watching,
no one's enjoying it.
Yeah, It's like that people are forced to watch performance art using like a music video on a screen, smoke, lasers, and a real man and woman on the stage in front of the screen.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I can't remember why we even happens. Oh yes, a girl goes to the toilet.
Yes.
And she just sits there twiddling with her thumb. She's not actually using the toilet. We don't know why she's upset. And then monster arms pull her under the cubicle.
The first time we see that it actually isn't a man, because up until this point they've thought that it was a man doing all of this, until other than the incredible amounts of sperm. Direct quote from the film sperm. So at this point we see the monster green arm pulling her underneath the door,
which is a moment when you go, oh, okay, so it is that sort of film. So it is a monster, or is it going to be a Scooby-Doo and it's like you pull off the monster's mask at the end and go, oh, it was Sam, Mr. Marley all along. I did wonder that as well. Dressed as like this creature from the Black Lagoon. I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't those pesky kids. So, but this is interesting, isn't it? So remember, this is a very, very small town. So then they are in that toilet. There's blood everywhere. She's been killed in the cubicle. I feel like now something should escalate precautionary-wise, like maybe a curfew. Shut some things down. This is a tiny town. Half of the people have been murdered in 2 days. I feel like some measures should be put into place, and definitely don't let the local surgeon, who
100%,
let's face it, we're not sure has the qualifications he should have. Don't put him in charge of everything.
Don't put him in charge of anything. I mean, the only measures that they put in place is no one can leave and no one can come in without us. Like, that's clearly not the problem. The problem is obviously in the town.
Yes.
Quite clearly.
It's not border control problem. What are you worried about? And at the murder scene, the policeman asks to the doctor, to Sam, he says, crazy people have super strength, right? And Sam, the medical professional, says, yes. So the medical professional is A, happy with the term crazy people, and B, confirms that mental illness grants you super strength.
Yes.
Again, doctor it please, Sam.
100%. I would love to know where you trained.
What the fuck?
Also, how you got the job. Because that's the other thing. That, like, there's this real like heavy weight put on the fact that the journalist and Sam aren't from the town. Like, that they are strangers. Sam's moved there to be a doctor.
Right.
I don't know why. And she's
They're
moved
outsiders.
there. Because, exactly. And like, because the police officer, detective person keeps saying like, you're not from here.
So weird.
So weird.
But I guess, okay, no, I'll ask this when we get to the end because it's very confusing. Because it's not like she has just rocked up and become the reporter, which would make sense for what we find out later. This woman has been there for a while because, like, her paper, she's got a column in the paper and like her photo.
Oh, she bought the paper with her parents' inheritance.
Oh yes.
When he takes her to the bar, she's like, "It's not my fault. I came to this town. I just wanted to buy a paper with my parents' inheritance, and it ended up being this one." And it's like, I don't think that's how it works. But
no.
But yeah, she's been there for a while. Like, she's known. Like, even to the point where, like, Jenny, the daughter, is like, oh, there's another column by so-and-so. I can't remember her name.
Yes, exactly. She's seen her before. She's like an avid reader of whatever her name's column is.
Yes.
Then, obviously, Sweaty Tim is, like, he's starting to say, oh, I think it's me. I think I'm doing it. He tells Jenny, I think I'm doing these murders. And then we've got the grandmother, Agatha, in the basement with a big spell book. It's almost like it's like a history book of her family from like the witch Salem type medieval witchfinder times.
Yeah,
right?
so she goes down into the basement of her house. I think it's supposed to be like the one from In His Dream. I think.
Yes, the torture chamber, basically.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that it's in the house, I guess, because he's never seen that room before. And then, she opens this massive book that then talks about the Incubus.
We get our
Oh, yeah,
theory.
yeah.
But anyway, that's all debunked quite quickly because Tim's sperm doesn't match the red sperm.
Oh, and by the way, right?
Yes.
He comes to the house. The doctor is like, we think it might be Jim Tim, and
Yes.
we need to go and test his sperm, send it to forensics.
Yes.
And then they arrive at the hospital, and he's like, "Oh, tell them I'm here." And then they all go into the room together.
Yeah. Yes.
Tim,
Daughter as well.
girlfriend, grandmother, reporter,
Yes.
and
Yes.
doctor
Yeah.
all go into this room where he's going to give a sperm sample.
Right. All right, go on
What?
then. Off you go. Sure, just give me a second. Yes, this town is strange.
So weird. But no, you're quite right. It doesn't match. So Tim is.
But everyone's like working as a team now because then they all go to the museum, don't they, to investigate together. Even Jenny, the daughter, and it's like, what is this ragtail band of super
No
mini
idea.
sleuths?
And then
bizarre.
also, and that's where we find out that the same thing happened 30 years ago.
Right. We're getting
Which has
into it
not
now.
been mentioned up until this point. No one has been like, oh my God, you know what? 30
you remember-
years ago, the same thing happened.
Yes, that one thing in this tiny town that's ever happened, that huge spree.
That we never solved.
Yes.
And also, if you remember right back at the beginning of the film, the man that gets killed has a bumper sticker that says Galen, the name of the town, 150 years of boredom. Rude then.
Wow.
'Cause 30 years ago, this pretty major event happened, actually.
Yeah, I think how about ask the family of the victims if they agree with that, about that boredom. Thank you. So
Also, I don't understand why the journalist brings it up.
Well, why would she? Especially if it's
No, I
her.
Well, quite.
Right, doing it. Why would you give a clue to catching you? Fucking hell. Yeah, the granny takes a sacred dagger, and then
Yeah,
she
that's
tells
the
the
other thing.
story of my family were witch hunters.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Tim's real mother was a witch.
Yes.
She was driven to her death, whatever that means. And Tim survived, and so Granny Galen adopted him. Yes?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
The most confusing thing for me here was that there is this massive display case in the museum of a doll with pins in it, an incubus knife. It's literally called the incubus knife. At that point, you start to realise that the mannequins are the hooded figures from Tim's dreams.
Oh, God, right.
So also not a boring town at all. They've got witch hunters that are in the museum. The museum is all about this.
Steeped in history, yes.
Absolutely. And at no point has someone gone, hang on a minute. Hang on a second. Incubus knife? Why do we have this in our museum?
This is surely the big draw, the big tourist draw of their town. If there's a thing called the incubus knife, they know this town knows what an incubus is.
Right?
Home of the incubus. That's what it should say on the Galen sign as you're coming in.
Exactly. It's history.
It's their history. Wow. So the mythology is just very strange, because then Sam wants to induce one of the dreams and draw out the incubus.
Yes, because so Tim does think that it's him that's doing it. And then
Yes.
they agree that while it's probably not Tim doing it, every time he has a dream, someone gets murdered. Or sometimes not
Right.
murdered. Oh, and at this point, Mandy, the woman in the hospital,
Oh, yes,
has
she's
said
woken
monster.
up. That's right, of course.
And the doctor is mad creepy with her as well.
Yes.
Come on, tough guy. Come on, tough guy. Come on, beautiful.
Yeah, that, and he really grabbing
What?
her face. Come on, tough guy. Yeah, come on.
He does a lot of grabbing people's faces. No.
Yes, like with the boy, he like massages his bones in his face, like crushing them all the time. It's so strange.
It's
and also at this
so
point,
odd.
he says, "I'm gonna induce the dream. I swear to God, there's gonna be a
Yeah.
rape tonight." And I thought,
Yeah.
but he says it in a way of like, even if I have to do it myself, by God, there'll be a rape.
Absolutely,
God.
definitely. And also the police officer, just not
Hmm.
that fussed about it, is like, oh yeah, no, it did happen 30 years ago. I'm leaving. So at that point, I was like, maybe it's him. Maybe he's one of these cult people. Because
Everyone's in
again,
on it.
the doctor's like, I'm going to induce a stream. I think you're going to have to, make sure that everyone's okay. And he's like, hey, people can't come in and they can't come out again. That didn't work last time.
I think it's also just worrying that the man of science, the one who's meant to always go, it's got to be a scientific explanation. He's the one going, I'm going to induce a dream demon from this child. That's when you go, I don't feel comfortable with you taking over this this case. Actually, this doesn't feel right, and I don't want you to like doing health checks on me anymore because you believe in dream monsters. So then we've got the reporter with Jenny being very odd, and you're like, oh, maybe she's the bad guy again.
No, before then, the grandmother is like, leave my grandson alone. Leave him alone. We're leaving now. This isn't happening. Leave him alone.
Yes.
Then they drop her off at home, and she's just fine. She just goes in the house and lets them take her grandson off again. Which is
again,
weird.
they don't have a warrant or anything.
Nothing. The police officers are nowhere near any of this now. They're off doing
vigilante
nothing
style.
by all accounts. There was one point in the film where someone says like, "Oh, don't tell anyone," and then he just turns up with the journalist. Like, I don't
It's the
understand.
opposite.
So then they're all at Sam and Jenny's house,
Mm-hmm.
and he's grabbing Tim a lot.
Yes, by face bones, yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me this now. So he thinks he's worked it all out, and I think, thank God, he can explain it to us, the audience.
Yes. Yeah.
And he goes, Tim, do you think you might have a brother from 30 years ago?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Talk to me. I've got no more. That is my question. That's me asking a question. What are you talking about? I thought the idea was we find out that actually Tim is Sam's son because hang on.
Wait.
So wait, listen. So when Agatha says his mother was killed, she was driven to death.
Right.
And we've also seen flashes of him with his ex-wife, which he like ran over or something.
Something.
So I was like,
but then at one point there's a flash of her being on the ground, not covered in blood, and then then straight away one covered in blood. So at that point I was like, maybe he's seeing things.
Oh, but that can't have been 30 years ago because his daughter's 18.
Yeah.
So oh my God. I don't understand this. So what's he talking about? Do you have a brother from 30 years ago?
No.
What does he mean?
So I thought I thought
Go on.
that at that point we're trying to establish that actually Tim was born out of his mother being raped, and that in this 30 year
from
ago,
the 30 years ago. Oh,
yeah,
I see.
and so he would have a sibling potentially out in the world if someone else had gotten pregnant.
Okay. So what? He's just curious.
Well,
Does it narratively mean anything?
I don't know.
But we see, but we see the monster in Tim's dream, so it is a monster as well.
This is the first time that we see the monster. Yes, because he says like, oh, he spent a long time saying, I don't know who this woman is in my dream.
Yes.
And then someone says like,
oh,
do you think it could be your mother? And he's like, no. And then he's like, yeah, 100% it's my mother.
Every time I wake up, I know it's my mum. Yes.
Yeah, that's not what we were saying yesterday.
No.
He's like, oh, someone's trying to get through the door, and she wants them to come through the door, but the people in robes don't want them to come through the door. And then Sam's like, let them through the door. We want, like, you can do this in your dream.
Oh, God. Fine. But what does he mean when Tim says the reporter's his sister?
So
Just
I
to add a
think...
next layer. And then the reporter turns out to be the Incubus.
Well, yes. So I thought... that he was saying there must be more of you, so you share the same father, in inverted commas, this incubus demon thing.
Right.
But I think at some point we're supposed to be led to believe
Tim is the son of the Incubus.
Yes. I think.
Well, no. What, is Tim meant to be
No?
30?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, yeah, so Tim is product of Incubus from 30 years ago, and then and that's why he has this strange connection with the Incubus.
I think so. And he gets given the Incubus knife by his grandmother.
Yes.
So I'm assuming she's like, oh, you're going to see
Protect
it,
yourself.
and then you're going to have to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why.
No, why she knows that.
Because she's the one in a long line of witch hunters.
But Sam stabs a 30-year-old man and kills him.
No, I know. So, so for the listeners that haven't watched this and won't be,
Yes.
Sam has said, "Oh, I'm worried about my daughter being alone. She's gone upstairs on her own." Journalist is like, "Oh, I'll take her a drink." Wakes her up and says, I brought you a can of Coke. Then Tim goes a bit mad and runs upstairs with the Incubus knife.
Yes.
And is like, "You're my sister," ready to stab the journalist. And then Sam, the doctor, runs up and pushes him over and stabs him with the Incubus knife. Don't know why.
Murder,
Actual murder of a human being.
Yeah, he hugs the reporter. He sees over her shoulder that she's killed his daughter.
Yeah.
And then we just know that she is the Incubus.
Well, then we get the thing I Googled was, it said, and we realised that the journalist is the Incubus because her face turns into the Incubus. No, it doesn't.
There's a flash.
It's a shot of her. It's a shot of an Incubus, and then it's a shot of her again.
It doesn't turn into the Incubus.
It doesn't turn into the Incubus at all.
Okay.
Like, he could have just been hugging the Incubus.
So let's say fine. Let's take all that as read. So what I want to know is, has she always been the Incubus?
Yes.
Or has the Incubus turned into got rid of her, killed her, and then
no,
turned
I
into
think
her?
it was always her.
So the Incubus has been in her form and like got a job, set up the newspaper, been reporting on other crimes for 30 years.
Yeah.
No. The rape demon for 30 years has been in this small town.
No, not for 30 years.
Reporting about petty theft.
Well, no, because she's not Tim's sister. She is the Incubus.
Yeah.
But she came to town, shapeshifted into the body of the journalist. Yeah, bought the newspaper, started reporting and taking photos of the murders that they'd done.
But what can I... No, okay, fine. But why? Why not just stay out of sight?
No idea.
If you're a demon that can shapeshift, why get yourself involved with everyone?
Why kiss Sam?
Yes, to raise suspicion. Just stay out. Just do your thing and
Why
stay outside.
bring up
and
the fact that it happened 30 years ago?
Yes, stop leading them to you. Wow. If anyone listening has seen it, please do get in touch with your own theory of what the hell all of this is at the end. Because is the granny bad? Is Tim bad because he's the son of the Incubus? What's going on? Did Sam kill his ex?
I don't know. And also, like, his reaction to his daughter being dead is just to look at her wide-eyed and then a slow zoom in on a freeze frame of his eye.
Yes.
And still hugging the Incubus.
Doesn't let go of the Incubus.
Like, hey, you killed my daughter and I've just killed her boyfriend.
Goodness. Fascinating ups and downs and threads of narrative that just don't get cleared up. And I mean, it's very enjoyable to talk about, but my head's starting to hurt again.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to add on this movie?
I don't think so.
No, I think.
Is there anything else? It's an odd one. And
it is.
It
doesn't quite know what it wants to be.
No, that's exactly.
And as you pointed out, it kind of feels like it changed its mind halfway, but they'd already filmed loads.
That's definitely how it came across, and I still don't understand what the people in robes were,
No, the medieval
because clearly
torture.
they don't need, because it gave the impression that, like, the incubus, in order to impregnate someone, needs this ritual.
Right.
But, like, it absolutely
doesn't.
hasn't, obviously. If the whole point is to impregnate these women...
What happened?
But then also, all of them, the whole point is...
Yes. What is the whole point, Emily? I can't wait for this.
I think the whole point of an incubus is to impregnate these women. But every woman that is attacked by the incubus, Dr. Sam says her uterus is ruptured. She'll never have children. What's it doing it for then?
Well, maybe it's just it keeps messing up until it does it right with the curator. I mean, this is a horrible conversation. But also, what I want to know is...
I can't do it right with the curator because the curator's dead now.
Yeah, what's the end game for the incubus then? So, because we found out that actually what comes out isn't like a horrible spawn that's going to take over the world. It's Tim.
Yeah.
Just a normal boy who has flashes of like a past life. And so what's the end game of the incubus? It's not taking over.
No.
Oh my gosh, I'm done with this film.
I feel like we've raised more questions.
This is the thing. I came for answers, Emily.
Sorry.
And now I've just got like a list.
I feel like this is like one of the ones where you have to you're just going to have to get in contact with the creator. It's based on a book too.
Yes,
I
wonder
if the book ends in the same way.
The daughter doesn't die, apparently, in the book.
Right, okay.
At the end. But this is the thing. All these answers will be in the book, because part of me is very intrigued now to go, what have they added? What have they missed out? Because there's no way the whole point of a book is a beginning, middle, and end, and that ain't this. So part of me, I don't really want to have to read an entire book to work out this film. That's the wrong way round. That's not how films are meant to work. That you go back to the source material to then work out what you just watched.
Also, I do feel like, you've done an hour and a half of it. Do we really need to add?
No, exactly. Add like 3 weeks to that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it there. And anyone who would like to go and read the book, or has read the book, or has their own version of what goes on, please
yes,
get in touch.
Please let us know.
I know, we'll report back. So, yeah, remind us one more time when your Acorn Antiques, Acorn TV starts.
Wisdom of Pearl Series 2 is on in November.
Can't wait.
2 episodes a week.
2 weeks, lovely. And that's real, that's streaming times for you, innit?
Yeah.
We can't wait.
We like to binge watch, don't we?
Yeah, we have to devour. And where can people find you online?
Online, I am on Twitter at Emily_head.
Perfect. Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you
for bringing these questions to me, and and
thank you for making me watch this film.
Yes, I can't wait till next time. Thank you, my love.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily Head. My goodness, she really gets the crazy films, her. It's because I know she can handle it, but I will go easier on her next time. Not! Thank you so much, though, for being so awesome. As always, you're an amazing guest. Thank you, Emily. Next week, we hit the pinnacle of 80s schlock and practical effects as we delve into Anthony Hitchcock's 1988 trashterpiece, Waxwork, which is currently streaming on Shudder in the UK. Joining me to discuss this absolute banger is content creator The Zoran. Not only is he the editor and occasional presenter of Dead Meat's YouTube sensation Kill Count, but host and creator of his own YouTube channel Low Carb Comedy. If you don't already know it, check it out. Trust me, it is right up your street, biatch. So, come and find me. As I said, come and talk to me. I like it. On Twitter and Letterboxd, it's Stevie's Brainrot. On Instagram and Facebook, it's Brainrot Pod. Face Brain. Fuck it. There's links down the bottom where you can email me, steviesbrainrot@gmail.com. Until next week, rotters. Toodles!